Observer Rax stood motionless at his monitoring station aboard the diplomatic vessel Starseeker, his 4 eyes fixed intently on the readings before him. The unknown ship had appeared at the edge of their sensor range just moments ago, its design unlike anything in their database. "Captain, the vessel appears to be of military design, but—" Rax paused, double-checking his readings. "They're broadcasting an open communication signal. No weapons powered, shields at minimal strength." Captain Trill moved to stand behind him, her silvery scales reflecting the soft blue light of the bridge. "Show me," she commanded softly. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a sleek vessel with sharp angles and obvious weapon ports. Yet true to Rax's words, it made no aggressive moves. Instead, it maintained a respectful distance while continuing to broadcast its greeting message. "This is Captain Mark of the Earth defense ship Thunder, reaching out in peace to unknown vessel. We come representing humanity and wish to establish diplomatic contact." The bridge crew exchanged glances. They had heard of humans. Who hadn't? The species had burst onto the galactic scene barely 50 years ago, rapidly expanding their influence through a mixture of technological innovation and what many species called reckless determination. "Open a channel," Captain Trill ordered, smoothing her diplomatic robes. "This is Captain Trill of the Galactic Confederation vessel Starseeker. We return your peaceful greeting." The screen changed, and for the first time, the crew saw actual humans. Captain Mark stood at the center of their bridge, flanked by his officers. Rax immediately began recording their physical characteristics for analysis, but something caught his attention. The corners of their mouth parts were turned upward, showing teeth. In most species, baring teeth was a sign of aggression. But the human's body language showed no hostile intent. "Fascinating, Captain Trill." Mark's voice carried warmth that matched his facial expression. "We're honored to make your acquaintance. Would you be interested in establishing a more formal diplomatic connection? We could arrange for a secure dock between our vessels." As the captains discussed logistics, Rax couldn't tear his attention away from the humans' faces. Their expressions kept shifting, subtle movements that seemed to convey meaning he couldn't quite grasp. He'd studied xenobiology for decades, but humans were proving to be uniquely challenging to read. During the docking procedure, Rax was assigned to the security team. As the airlock cycled and the connection was established, he watched through the monitoring systems as the human delegation prepared to board. What he saw both confused and alarmed him. The humans were conducting standard security checks, but they were displaying those teeth again. 2 security officers were even making odd rhythmic sounds while checking their weapons, something he would later learn was called laughter. "Sir," he called to his superior, "the humans are exhibiting strange behavior. They appear to be showing aggressive displays while conducting friendly procedures." His superior, Chief Security Officer Mal, studied the footage. "Noted in your report, but take no action. We've been briefed the humans have unusual customs. As long as their weapons remain powered down, we'll proceed as planned." The diplomatic meeting began smoothly enough. Both parties exchanged formal greetings, shared basic cultural information, and began laying the groundwork for future relations. But Rax couldn't shake his unease. Every time he looked at the humans, they were making those expressions. Smiles, they called them. What truly unsettled him was how genuine they seemed. These weren't threat displays or dominance gestures. The humans appeared to be expressing genuine pleasure at the meeting. It challenged everything he thought he knew about evolutionary psychology. As he made his final notes that day, Rax added a personal observation. Humans appear to have evolved a unique form of social signaling that defies conventional threat/welcome patterns. Further study is highly recommended. Personal note: their ability to show teeth while maintaining peaceful intent is both fascinating and somewhat disturbing. What other surprises might this species have in store? He had no idea how prophetic that question would prove to be. The diplomatic meeting between the Star Seeker and Thunder had been going on for 6 hours when the first warning signals blared through both ships. Observer Rax's instruments lit up with multiple contact signatures appearing from what seemed to be nowhere. Pirates. Captain Trill's voice cut through the chaos on the bridge. 5 vessels, heavily armed. They're using stealth technology we haven't seen before. On the still open communication channel, Rax watched the human response with growing fascination. Captain Mark's face underwent a dramatic change. The peaceful smile transformed into something entirely different, wider, fiercer, showing more teeth. Yet somehow it didn't seem threatening to his crew. If anything, they appeared to draw energy from it. "Looks like we get to show our new friends how humans handle combat situations," Mark announced, his voice carrying an odd tone that Rax's translator struggled to interpret. Was it excitement? The human crew burst into action. What happened next would be burned into Rax's memory forever. As the humans ran to their battle stations, many of them were displaying those fierce teeth-baring expressions. Some were even making short, sharp sounds, quick bursts of laughter. "Sir," Rax reported to his superior, "I believe the humans are experiencing some sort of combat-induced hysteria. Should we be concerned?" Before his superior could respond, the first pirate ship opened fire. The Thunder's response was immediate and devastating. Their weapon systems, which had remained powered down during the diplomatic exchange, roared to life with frightening efficiency. Through the command channel, Rax could hear the human combat communications. They were joking. In the middle of a firefight, they were making what his translator identified as humorous observations about the situation. These pirates picked the wrong day for a party. One human weapons officer called out while landing a perfect hit on an enemy vessel's engine. "Did you see that shot? Beautiful." Another exclaimed, their face split in what Rax now recognized as a battle smile. Captain Trill ordered their own weapons powered up, and the Star Seeker joined the fight. The pirates had clearly not expected 2 ships, let alone one of them being a human military vessel. Their formation began to break apart. What truly shocked Rax was how the humans coordinated their attacks with the Star Seeker. Despite never having fought together before, the Thunder's crew seamlessly adjusted their tactics to complement the alien vessel's capabilities, and they did it all while maintaining those unnerving expressions of joy. "Direct hit on their flagship," a human tactical officer announced, pumping his fist in the air. The gesture was accompanied by more of that battle laughter. 3 pirate ships were already retreating, their hulls scarred by precision strikes. The 4th exploded in a spectacular display of light after attempting to ram the Thunder. The 5th surrendered, powering down all systems and accepting capture. As the battle ended, Rax noticed something even more peculiar. The humans' expressions shifted again, becoming softer but no less pleased. They were congratulating each other, clapping each other on the back, and sharing what appeared to be celebratory gestures. Captain Mark's voice came through clear on the command channel. "Captain Trill, your crew fought admirably. I'd say this counts as one hell of an icebreaker, wouldn't you?" Rax watched as his own captain struggled to process the casual tone after such an intense battle. "Indeed, Captain Mark, your crew's enthusiasm in combat is quite remarkable." "Oh, you haven't seen anything yet," Mark replied, that strange battle smile still on his face. "Wait until we tell you about some of our other engagements. Speaking of which, would your observer like to interview our crew about human combat responses?" I noticed him taking quite a few notes during the fight. Rax felt all 4 of his eyes widen. The humans had been aware of his observation even during combat, and they wanted to share more information about their bizarre battle behaviors. In his report that evening, Rax wrote, "Humans appear to derive some form of positive stimulation from combat situations. Their facial expressions during battle suggest not just acceptance of combat, but active enjoyment. Most concerning observation, their combat efficiency appears to increase when displaying these behaviors. Further study is critical for understanding this potentially dangerous evolutionary adaptation. Dr. Lin's medical bay aboard the Starseeker had never been so crowded. After the battle, both ships' crews had agreed to a joint medical examination to ensure no one had suffered injuries. But that wasn't the real reason for the gathering. Observer Rax stood in the corner, recording everything while Dr. Lin attached monitoring devices to a line of volunteer human soldiers. The aliens were particularly interested in understanding the physiological changes that occurred during combat. Your heart rate actually increased by 40% during the battle, Dr. Lin noted, her sensitive fingers moving across her medical scanner. Yet your accuracy improved rather than declined. How is this possible? The human soldier, Tom, gave what Rax now recognized as a grin. Adrenaline, he said simply, gets the blood pumping, sharpens the senses, makes everything feel more alive. Dr. Lin's antenna twitched in confusion. You mean your species intentionally maintains a heightened state of arousal during combat? Fascinating. Most species try to suppress such responses as they can lead to poor decision-making. Oh, it gets better, another human soldier named Jack chimed in. Wait until you hear about the runner's high. Some of us actually get endorphin rushes from combat situations. The medical staff exchanged worried glances. The idea of a species that produced pleasure chemicals during life-threatening situations seemed almost impossible to comprehend. Rax stepped forward, unable to contain his curiosity any longer. During the battle, I observed many of you making those sound patterns. Laughter, I believe it's called. Is this also related to these chemical responses? The humans in the room all looked at each other and then, as if to demonstrate, began laughing together. The alien medical staff instinctively stepped back, their defensive membranes flickering in response to the sudden display. Sorry, Tom said, trying to control his amusement. It's just that you make it sound so clinical. Sometimes we laugh because things are funny, even in battle. Especially in battle, actually. It helps keep us sharp, keeps the fear from taking over. Dr. Lin's readings suddenly spiked. Remarkable. Even this mild amusement is triggering similar chemical reactions to your combat response, though at a lower intensity. The examination continued for hours. The aliens discovered that humans not only smiled and laughed during battle, but actually performed better when they did so. Their coordination improved, their reaction times decreased, and their problem-solving abilities peaked. It's like a feedback loop, Dr. Lin explained to Captain Trill later. The more they enjoy the combat, the better they fight. The better they fight, the more they enjoy it. From an evolutionary standpoint, it's brilliant, if somewhat terrifying. Rax was particularly intrigued by the varying types of combat smiles they had documented. There was the fierce grin of direct engagement, the quick smirk of successful targeting, and the wide smile of victory. Each seemed to serve a different purpose in human combat psychology. But surely, he asked the human soldiers, you don't actually enjoy the act of combat itself. The room grew quiet for a moment before Tom answered. It's complicated. We don't enjoy hurting others or the necessity of fighting. But the act of fighting itself, the rush, the focus, the teamwork. Yeah, many of us do enjoy that part. In his evening report, Rax added a new section. Human combat psychology appears to have evolved beyond simple survival responses. They have developed a complex system of positive reinforcement that turns battle stress into combat efficiency. Most notably, they seem to have weaponized happiness itself. As he finished his report, Rax couldn't help but wonder what other revelations awaited them. The humans had taken what most species considered a disadvantage, heightened emotional and chemical responses during combat, and turned it into one of their greatest strengths. Dr. Lin's final medical report that day contained a warning. Exercise extreme caution when engaging humans in combat. Their smiles may be the last thing you ever see. The research lab aboard the Starseeker had been converted into an improper human study center. Screens lined the walls, each displaying different footage from the recent battle. Observer Rax and Dr. Lin stood in the center of the room, surrounded by their fellow scientists, all watching the recordings with intense focus. "Play that sequence again," Rax requested, pointing to a screen showing the human gunner. "Look at the exact moment he spots the target." The footage rewound. The human gunner's face changed from neutral to that now familiar battle smile, just seconds before the target even became visible on their sensors. "Their combat intuition is remarkable," Dr. Lin noted, her fingers dancing across her datapad. "It's as if their positive emotional state enhances their predictive capabilities." One of the junior scientists raised a hand. "I've been studying their historical battle records. Look at this." The main screen filled with images from human history, ancient warriors bearing war paint and fierce grins, pilots from their early air combat era wearing bright smiles in front of their aircraft, modern soldiers grinning during training exercises. "It's not a new development," the junior scientist explained. "Humans have been smiling during battle for their entire recorded history. They even have specific terms for it: war face, battle cry, warrior's grin." Rax moved closer to the screen, his four eyes taking in every detail. "But what's the evolutionary advantage? In most species, showing teeth is a warning sign, a threat display. How do they turn it into a combat enhancement?" Captain Mark had given them permission to interview more of his crew, and they brought in several veterans to help understand this phenomenon. The first was an older soldier named Pete, who had seen numerous battles. "Sometimes you gotta laugh," Pete explained, leaning back in his chair. "When everything's going crazy around you, when the situation seems impossible, that's often when the smiles come out. It's like telling death, 'Not today.'" The aliens recorded every word, fascinated by this psychological insight. "But doesn't it make you more reckless?" Dr. Lin asked. "Our studies show that positive emotions during combat typically lead to overconfidence and mistakes." Pete shook his head, smiling as if remembering something. "Nah, it's different. The smile isn't about being happy exactly. It's about being fully present, fully alive. It actually helps us focus better." The scientific team spent hours analyzing brain scan data from volunteering human crew members. They discovered that during combat situations, human brains showed increased activity in both emotional and analytical centers simultaneously, something rarely seen in other species. "Look at these neurotransmitter levels," Dr. Lin pointed out during their review session. "They're not just handling stress, they're converting it into enhanced performance. The more intense the situation, the more efficient their neural pathways become." Rax added another observation to his growing report. "Humans appear to have evolved a unique coping mechanism that turns combat stress into a performance enhancer. Their facial expressions are not just social signals but seem to be part of a complex physiological response system." The team discovered something else interesting in their research. The human battle smiles were contagious among their own species. When one human soldier displayed the expression, others would often mirror it, creating a feedback loop of enhanced combat performance throughout their unit. "It's a form of neural synchronization," one scientist suggested. "They're unconsciously coordinating their combat responses through facial expressions and emotional states." As their research continued, the alien scientists found themselves both impressed and slightly unnerved by their discoveries. Humans hadn't just adapted to combat. They had developed a complex psychological and physiological system that turned one of the most stressful situations possible into a performance enhancer. At the end of their research session, Rax made one final note: recommendation to High Command. Exercise extreme caution in any potential conflicts with humans. Their ability to find joy in battle makes them unpredictable and extremely dangerous opponents. Most concerning of all, they seem to be getting better at it with each generation. The conference room aboard the Thunder had been specially prepared for this meeting. Humans and aliens sat interspersed around a large table, creating an atmosphere of informal dialogue rather than rigid scientific inquiry. Captain Mark had suggested this arrangement to help both species feel more comfortable. "So let me get this straight," Tom said, looking at the alien scientists. Your species actually tries to suppress all emotional responses during combat. Dr. Lin's antenna twitched in agreement. Of course, emotions cloud judgment, create hesitation. Our training focuses on maintaining absolute calm during battle. The humans exchanged glances, and several of them broke into grins. Observer Rax noticed how the aliens in the room instinctively tensed at the display, even though they now understood its meaning. But that's exactly backwards, Pete explained, leaning forward. Emotions don't just cloud judgment. They can enhance it. Fear sharpens your senses. Anger can give you strength. And excitement, well, excitement makes you better at everything. A young alien scientist named Kip raised his hand. But how do you prevent these emotions from overwhelming you? Our historical records show that emotional species often break under pressure. Captain Mark stepped in. That's where the smiling comes in. It's not just an expression. It's a control mechanism. When we smile in battle, we're not just showing happiness. We're channeling our emotions, directing them. This revelation caused a stir among the alien scientists. They had been studying the physical and psychological aspects of human battle smiles, but had not considered them as emotional control mechanisms. Think of it like a pressure valve, Pete added. The smile releases just enough tension to keep us sharp without letting us lose control. Plus, it scares the hell out of most enemies. Nothing more terrifying than someone who's enjoying the fight. The aliens took rapid notes while Dr. Lin's medical scanner hummed, recording the humans' vital signs as they discussed combat. Even just talking about battle seemed to trigger mild versions of their combat responses. In our species, Captain Trill shared, her scales shifting color slightly, we enter a state of complete emotional detachment during combat. It's considered the peak of warrior training. The humans looked fascinated by this. But doesn't that slow down your reaction time? Tom asked, having to process everything through pure logic. Actually, Rax interjected, displaying some data on the room's main screen. Our analysis shows that both approaches have their advantages. Your emotional enhancement gives you speed and intuitive response, while our emotional detachment provides precision and tactical clarity. The conversation continued for hours, with both species sharing their combat philosophies. The humans learned about the aliens' meditation techniques for achieving battle calm, while the aliens gained new insight into human combat psychology. You know what's really interesting? Pete said near the end of the session. We're both trying to achieve the same thing. Peak combat performance. We just evolved completely different ways of getting there. Dr. Lin's final notes for the day included an observation. Human combat emotions appear to be highly refined tools rather than primitive responses. Their ability to maintain positive emotional states during battle may be their species' greatest military innovation. As the meeting concluded, Captain Mark made an unexpected suggestion. Would any of your warriors be interested in joint training exercises? Nothing dangerous, just some basic drills. It might be educational for both sides. The alien officers looked uncertain until Captain Trill spoke up. I believe that would be fascinating. Though I must warn you, seeing our species attempt to smile might be somewhat disturbing. The humans burst into laughter, and for the first time, a few of the aliens attempted to mirror the expression. The results were indeed disturbing, but it marked a significant step forward in interspecies understanding. Rax's final note that evening read, most significant discovery yet. Humans don't just tolerate combat stress, they've evolved to thrive on it. Their battle smiles aren't just expressions of joy. They're weapons forged by evolution itself. The warning alarms blared again across both ships, but this time the response was different. Observer Rax watched as both human and alien crews moved to their battle stations with practiced efficiency. 3 days of joint training exercises had created an unusual bond between the two crews. Multiple hostile contacts. The sensor officer called out, 15. No, 20 ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Same pirate signatures as before. Captain Mark's voice came through clear on the shared command channel. Looks like they brought friends this time. Captain Trill, shall we show them how our two species fight together? Rax noticed something extraordinary. Some of the alien crew were attempting to mimic the human battle smiles. The expressions looked strange on their faces, but the intent was clear. They were trying to tap into that human combat enhancement. Hostile fleet is deploying in attack formation, Tom announced from his weapons station. They've learned from last time. No more scattered approach. The pirates had indeed learned. Their formation was tight and professional, designed to overwhelm the two ships with concentrated fire. But they hadn't counted on what 3 days of cultural exchange had taught both crews. Remember the drills, Captain Trill said to her crew. Observe the humans' emotional states but maintain our logical clarity. Let us complement each other's strengths. The battle began with a massive volley from the pirate fleet. Both defending ships moved in perfect sync, their different combat styles merging into something entirely new. The Thunder's crew fought with their characteristic grins and battle laughter, while the Starseeker's crew maintained their precise, calculated responses. Port shields at 60%, an alien officer reported calmly. Perfect time to show them our new trick, Tom said with a fierce grin. Ready for that maneuver we practiced, Starseeker. What happened next would be discussed in military academies across the galaxy for years to come. The Thunder charged straight at the pirate fleet, looking like a reckless attack. The pirates took the bait, concentrating their fire on the human ship. At the exact right moment, the Starseeker emerged from behind the Thunder, its weapons precisely targeting the gaps in the pirates' formation. Now that's what I call a smile-worthy moment, Pete shouted as 3 pirate ships went dark. The alien crew, watching the effectiveness of the humans' battle joy, began experimenting with their own expressions. Dr. Lin's monitors showed something fascinating. The aliens trying to smile were showing increased combat performance, even though the expression wasn't natural to them. They're adapting, Rax noted with amazement. Not just tactically, but psychologically. The pirates, faced with this unprecedented combination of human aggressive joy and alien precision, began to break formation. Their attempt at organized combat devolved into chaos as they faced opponents who seemed to be enjoying their destruction. Did you see that shot? An alien gunner called out, attempting both a smile and a laugh. The sound was more like a wheeze, but nearby humans cheered in support. The battle lasted 20 minutes. When it ended, 5 pirate ships were destroyed, 7 had surrendered, and the rest had fled. Both defending ships had taken damage, but nothing critical. As the adrenaline of battle faded, the crews gathered on their respective bridges, comparing notes and sharing observations. The aliens were particularly interested in how attempting to smile had affected their performance. It felt strange, one alien officer admitted. But when I tried to smile like the humans, my reaction time improved by 12%. Captain Mark looked at Captain Trill with a genuine smile. I think we've discovered something important here. It's not about copying each other's methods exactly. It's about understanding and adapting them to our own needs. Rax's report that evening contained a new observation. The human battle smile appears to be more than just a species-specific trait. It may represent a universal combat enhancement that each species can adapt in their own way. Most importantly, when combined with our logical approach, it creates a fighting force greater than the sum of its parts. The celebration aboard the Thunder was unlike anything the alien crew had ever seen. Humans and aliens mingled in the ship's main hall, sharing stories of the battle while maintenance crews repaired both vessels. The air was filled with a mixture of human laughter and attempted alien imitations. Observer Rax stood in his usual corner, recording everything, but this time with a different perspective. After 2 battles and days of study, he finally understood something fundamental about humans that had escaped their initial analysis. Your final report is due to the High Command, Captain Trill reminded him, approaching with a drink in her hand. Have you reached any conclusions about our human allies? Rax looked at the gathering. where Pete was teaching a group of alien officers how to high-five after successful actions. Their attempts were clumsy but enthusiastic. "Yes," he said slowly, "but not the conclusions I expected to reach when we first met them." Dr. Lin joined them, her medical scanner still humming as she gathered final readings. The neural patterns during the second battle were fascinating. Our crew's attempt to adapt human combat expressions actually created new synaptic pathways. Across the room, Captain Mark was exchanging battle tactics with a group of mixed-species officers. The humans were demonstrating their battle grins, while the aliens showed their meditation techniques for achieving combat focus. "I think we were wrong," Rax announced suddenly. "We thought humans smiled during battle because they enjoyed violence, but that's not it at all." Both Trill and Lin turned to him with interest. "Explain," Trill commanded. "They smile because they refuse to let fear win," Rax continued. "It's not about enjoying the fight. It's about celebrating their ability to face it. Every smile is a victory over their own natural instincts to run or freeze." Tom overheard this and joined their conversation. "You know, that's probably the best explanation of it I've ever heard. We smile because we choose to face the danger, to protect what matters to us." Dr. Lin's antenna twitched with excitement. "This changes everything about our analysis. It's not just a combat enhancement. It's a philosophical stance expressed through physiological response." The celebration continued as repair crews reported both ships would be ready for travel within hours. The pirate prisoners had been secured, and the stolen goods they carried would be returned to their rightful owners. Captain Mark gathered everyone's attention for a final speech. "Today, we've proven something important. Different species with different approaches to combat can not only work together but make each other better. Every smile from our alien friends, every moment of focused calm our crew learned from you, it all matters." Rax finished his report that night with careful consideration. His final words would help shape his species' understanding of humanity for generations to come. Initial assessment of human battle smiles as a sign of primitive aggression was incorrect. Through careful study and shared combat experience, we have discovered it represents something far more significant: humanity's unique approach to facing adversity. Humans do not smile because they love battle. They smile because they have mastered their fear of it. Each grin is a declaration of defiance against their own mortality. Their laughter in combat is not madness. It is their way of maintaining humanity in the face of chaos. Most importantly, their willingness to share this trait, to teach others their methods while learning from our own combat philosophies, shows a level of psychological and cultural advancement we had not previously credited to their species. Recommendation: establish permanent joint training programs between our species. Humans have much to teach us about emotional strength in combat, just as we have much to share about focused clarity. Final note: when you see a human smile in battle, do not fear their savagery, admire their courage. They have turned their greatest fear into their greatest strength, and they are willing to teach us how to do the same. As both ships prepared to part ways the next day, crews exchanged salutes, some with battle smiles, others with serene calm, and many with a mixture of both. They had discovered something greater than either species' combat techniques alone: the power of understanding and learning from their differences. The stars seemed a little brighter as the ships went their separate ways, each crew forever changed by their encounter with the other.